AfriKili family and Global Pack Nation. Shaboozey, the Black American country music singer of Nigerian descent, gave a serious side eye to his co-presenter Megan Maroney a few days ago during the 2025 AMA, the American Music Awards. Shaboozey was just reacting to his co-presenter Megan's comment about who were the people who invented country music. But little did he know that that side eye just took the internet by fire and ignited a serious race war across the internet. To the point where Shaboozey had to go to his Twitter profile to calm things down and remind his fans that the true history of country music is so powerful that it cannot be erased. But was Shaboozey correct in trying to insinuate or insinuating that Black artists were erased from country music, at least the country music origin? And are people right to proclaim and comment all across the internet that Black people are the ones who actually invented country music? Well, we will discuss that and a few more headlines across the Global Pack. So let's fasten our seatbelts, let's dive in, and let's get to work. AfriKili family and Global Pack Nation, thank you and welcome to another edition of the Global Pack Show. This is your favorite host, Tony Mfumusimba Kwambamba Ngumbu. It is a pleasure for me to be in front of you once again on this Friday, May the 30th, 2025. Before getting things started, let me thank every single one of you that are continuing to support this Global Pack live format. And for those of you who have not done so, let me ask you to just take a moment. If you would, please click on the subscribe button. Only takes a second, but it helps us tremendously. It helps this platform grow. It allows us to meet the objective we set for ourselves in 2025. But more importantly, it allows you to become part of this community so that as we grow, you're part of a growing community. So please subscribe and also consider sharing the message by clicking share and sending it to people in your network who you feel would benefit from this message. So thank you very much ahead of that. All right, so as we start today's show, so what we'll continue doing what we began a few days ago. Remember, I told you that for every single show now going forward, I will start very quickly by giving you just an update of news stories around the Global Pack being the global Pan-African community, because as you know, the mission of this show is to build bridges and strong coalitions across the Global Pack. So the global Pan-African community, and we mean by that the people of African descent around the world, so the greater Pan-African diaspora, but also different African countries. So that is the mission of this show, building bridges and coalition. And a good way to do that is to make sure that we are informed of what's happening in different parts of our Global Pack communities. So on that note, we will start today by making a quick stop in the Caribbean. Namely in Jamaica, where the country names Usain Bolt as its global ambassador. So Jamaica has officially appointed Usain Bolt as its global ambassador in celebration of the country's tourism board 70th anniversary. So the announcement was made on May 22nd at the Devon House in Kingston by the Director of Tourism, Mr. Donovan White. So Usain Bolt, who's an 8-time Olympic gold medalist and world-renowned sprinter, will be the face of the new global marketing campaign set to launch in August, aiming to promote Jamaica's culture and tourism. Expressing his commitment, Usain Bolt stated, "I will continue to represent my country to the best of my ability." The Minister of Tourism, Mr. Edmund Bartlett, praised Usain Bolt, noting that his appointment formalizes his long-standing role as an unofficial ambassador, highlighting his embodiment of Jamaica's spirit, resilience, and excellence. So congratulations to Usain Bolt, who made all of us vibrate and excited all of us around the world in his numerous exploit on the track and field field, being such an excellent sprinter, one of the best to ever live, in my opinion. So congratulations to Usain Bolt for carrying the flag of Jamaica and being a worthy ambassador to represent the spirit of that country. Our next stop in the Caribbean takes us to Dominica, but also Haiti, where Dominica's Prime Minister, His Excellency Roosevelt Skerrit, who's a former chair of the CARICOM, which is the Caribbean Community, has called for formal negotiations with Haiti's gang leaders, arguing that continued military crackdowns and sanctions have failed to stabilize the country. Drawing parallels to Colombia's negotiation with the FARC rebels, Mr. Skerrit emphasized that dialogue could lead to meaningful change and reduce violence. He warned that relying solely on force, such as drone strikes or foreign interventions, risks worsening the crisis. His remarks come amid reports of renewed international security efforts, including Kenya's offer to extend its mission in Haiti and private military recruitment by Eric Prince's firm to combat gangs this summer. Now, two things here. On one end, as you know, we've talked about it, Kenya, which is the country in Africa, actually is the one leading the peacekeeping effort in Haiti. Now they're offering to increase their force, but in a worrying fashion for me, the name of Eric Prince, he's the one who created Blackwater. Remember Blackwater, the private security force that was accused of many, many crimes, a human rights violation in Iraq and otherwise. In the Middle East, I don't know if it would be good for Jamaica, for Haiti, to rely on this another private security force to address the violence. So I agree in a sense with the recommendation made by Mr. Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister of Dominica. All right, let's move on into Europe/Africa. Well, unfortunately, 7 people were dead, including 4 women and 3 girls, who drowned when a migrant boat capsized just off the shores of Spain's Canary Islands as it arrived at El Hierro this past Wednesday. The boat, reportedly carrying over 100 people, overturned during a rescue operation, causing panic as survivors clung to ropes and life preservers. As a matter of fact, I believe we have an image here. If you would please bear with me. This is Usain Bolt. Minutes ago, this is the Prime Minister of Dominica, who's recommending that in Haiti we bring more troops. All right, so this is the picture of the boat that was capsizing off the shores of the Canary Islands in the Spanish island. So 2 children were flown to a hospital in serious condition. The Spanish authorities and the Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez expressed sorrows over the tragedy, which highlights the ongoing dangers faced by migrants, many from Mali, Senegal, and Morocco, attempting this perilous Atlantic crossing to reach Europe. The Spanish archipelago, located off Africa's western coast, has for years been a main route for migrants who risk their lives in dinghies and rubber boats unfit for long journeys in the open sea. Thousands have been known to die on their way to Europe. So this is a very sad story, as you can see on the image here. So the boat was literally arriving on the shore. It capsized, and in that panic, there's over 100 people in the boat. Well, unfortunately, 7 people ended up dying. So this just highlights what we talk about all the time. Africa being such a rich continent, tragedies like this should no longer happen, where you have so many young people that are so hopeless to the point of risking their lives on perilous journeys such as these, getting on boats that are unfit for long journeys on the Atlantic Ocean, and too many young lives are dying. So it is more crucial than ever for Africa to maximize its potential, for better governance around across the continent, for strong coalitions across different global PAC communities, so that Africa can really take its economic destinies in its hand. A continent that rich should not be experiencing such tragedies, and the young people should not feel hopeless to the point of risking their lives, but rather should feel that there is a future available for them in their country. All right, let's continue with Africa. Our next news here takes us to Mauritania, where Mr. Sidi Ould Tah, the former finance minister of Mauritania, has been elected as president of the African Development Bank, the AFDB, succeeding Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina after his two-term tenure. In total, 5 candidates contested for the bank's top job. The others were Amadou Hott of Senegal, Samuel Maimbo of Zambia, Muhammad Abbas Toli of Chad, Bajabulile Swazi Chabalala from South Africa. The winning candidate was required to obtain at least 50.01% of the vote. Mr. Tah, who led a major transformation at the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, will begin his 5-year term on September 1st, 2025. His election comes at a challenging time for the African economies, which face aid cuts, trade tensions, and high debt cost. Mr. Tah plans to focus on resource mobilization, financial reform, and infrastructure investment to support the continent's resilience and growth. So congratulations to Mr. Sidi Ould Tah from Mauritania. The person he's succeeding, Mr. Akinwumi Adesina, was a fantastic president in the African Development Bank. So we can only wish the best of luck to Mr. Ould Tah. Our next story finally takes us to the United States, where we are starting with the U.S. Marine. Well, the U.S. Marine Corps has updated its grooming policy and has drawn criticism for it disproportionately affecting Black male service members. The policy mandates that Marines who are diagnosed with pseudofolliculitis, or PFB, should undergo reevaluation within 90 days. PFB is a skin condition more commonly known as razor bumps and ingrown hairs, disproportionately affects Black men at about 60%, according to the American Osteopathic College of Dermatology. If the condition persists beyond a year, despite a 4-phase treatment plan, the affected Marines may face administrative separation from service. Advocates argue that this reversal of a long-standing waiver allowing beards for those with PFB unfairly targets Black Marines and undermines diversity and inclusion efforts within the military. In my opinion, this is very unfortunate. This is actually sad. As you can see from my own neck, I happen to also suffer from ingrown hair, right? Razor bumps. When I was in the military, as you know, I've served in the military myself, I did get waivers, which allowed me to use an electric razor. And it's a condition that is beyond your control. So it is unfortunate for me to see that Pete Hegseth, now that he has assumed the mantle of the Secretary of Defense, is causing such policy changes, which clearly disproportionately affect Black male service members. Granted, razor bumps happen to people of all races, but as you can see here, disproportionately that affects Black service members. This is very unfortunate, and this is why, for example, the Black Veteran Project is saying that the medical waivers that existed for decades did not compromise mission effectiveness, and the military routinely relaxes its grooming policies for operational needs. For example, Navy SEALs and Special Forces and so on sometimes will be allowed to wear their beard. So in this case, what the Black Veteran Project is saying is that by threatening administrative separation from Marines who need longer term medical waivers, reveals the true intent of Pete Hegseth and the Department of Defense. According to the Black Veterans Project, this is just forcing Black Marines out of service for conditions beyond their control. And I can't say that I disagree with that statement. Finally, with our last headline news from the United States, Elon Musk, the controversial South African billionaire, has left the Trump administration after serving as a top advisor and leading the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. You're probably already familiar with this. Well, during his tenure, Elon Musk announced that he would slash federal spending by $2 trillion, but faced significant resistance and failure, ultimately achieving cuts of approximately $100 billion. So he went from $2 trillion announced to about $150 billion. His efforts led to thousands of federal layoffs and the dismantling of several agencies, sparking legal challenges and political backlash. Elon Musk's exit coincides with his public criticism of President Trump's latest legislative agenda, which he described as a massive spending bill that undermines DOGE mission. He plans to refocus on his business ventures, including Tesla and SpaceX, even though just earlier today there was a press conference where he said that he would still try to help the president, even though he's no longer his top advisor. We shall see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our quick 10-minute roundup around the global PAC. I hope this added value to you. So on that note, let's go straight into our main topic for today's show. As you saw, the title of our show today was Shaboozey and Beyoncé are reclaiming country music for Black artists. So what exactly is happening here? Let me just give you a quick recap of the situation, and then we will go into our discussion. In case you missed it, a few days ago, Shaboozey, who's on the picture here, pictured with Megan Maroney, they're both country music singers. Shaboozey is the country music singer originally from Nigeria. He was born in the United States. He's 30 years old, but he is of Nigerian ancestry. His name is actually Collins Obinna Chibueze. But he said since people had a hard time calling him Chibueze, he just made a play on it, which is why his stage name is Shaboozey. Well, yeah, so a few days ago, we had the AMA, the American Music Awards. And during the awards, Shaboozey and his co-presenter, Megan Maroney, were presenting the, let me see here. So they're presenting the Favorite Country Duo or Group Award. As they're presenting, suddenly Megan Maroney said something about who invented country music, and Shaboozey gave a side eye, which initially was innocuous, but then revealed a lot about what he felt of who actually invented country music. And after that, the internet just erupted. And you started having a lot of debates, and there's a race war that erupted. And Shaboozey had to go to his Twitter profile to calm things down. So that we're on the same page, all right? Before we continue on the conversation, I think it would be important for you to see exactly what happened. So let me play the video here, and then we will continue. We will come back to it, all right?
Country music has been an important part of AMA history. For the very first year of this show.
Actually, give me a second. So this is the video that Shaboozey, that will show exactly what we're talking about. So let's go through it, and then we will discuss the implications, because I think there's something very important here in terms of our mission and so on. All right, so this is at the AMA. This is what happened. All right, let's play.
Country music has been an important part of AMA history. The very first year of this show, the award for favorite male country artist went to the great Charlie Pride.
That same year, favorite female artist went to Lynn Anderson, and this award went to the Carter family, who basically invented country music.
Really?
This year's AMA nominees in that category are very impressive and include a few of our friends.
All right, so that stare was pretty quick. Maybe you did not pay attention. So let's play it again so that you see what this is all about. The internet can go aflame on something small, right? But there's deeper implications here beyond entertainment. So let's look at that stare again, which is causing all this ruckus. There it is. Again. You see that? Let me play it slow. So right there, Maroney is talking, and he just looked over like, what?
Country music has been an important part of AMA.
So this Right there. That is the stair that is causing all the ruckus. And again, why the stair? It's at this point here when Megan Maroney says this.
Went to Lynn Anderson, and this award went to the Carter family, who basically invented country music.
So she's saying the Carter family invented country music. And this was in response to Shaboozey was talking about Charlie Pride.
That same year,
this is also significant because
The very first year of this show, the award for favorite male country artist went to the great Charlie Pride.
the first year of that award, of that show, the award went to Charlie Pride, who was also an African American. All right, folks, enough said. Let's now go into what this is all about. Okay. All right. So what's all this fuss about? Booz is giving a side eye. People on the internet saying, you see, once again, they want to whitewash country music. They're talking about the Carter family, when in fact it's black people who invented country music. This is again a case of black people's accomplishment being taken out of history books and not even mentioned. So is there some truth to it? I think the discussion here is worthwhile. This will not just be an entertainment discussion, but I think this will actually be an enlightening discussion because there's some deeper underpinning on what is unfolding here. And so that just to kind of give you a sense of actually what happened. So after all the uproar, as I mentioned, Shaboozey had to go on the internet to try to calm the waters. So first you have his first tweet here where he says, let me see here. All right. So he says, when you uncover the true history of country music, you find a story so powerful that it cannot be erased. This was Shaboozey responding the following day. When you uncover the true history of country music, you find a story so powerful that it cannot be erased. This actually has undertones, in my opinion, of Bob Marley. Because, Bob Marley has this song that I love a lot called Buffalo Soldier. Buffalo Soldier, where he says, if you know your history, then you would know where you're coming from and you would not ask me who the hell I think I am. Right? If you know your history. So there's some undertones of that when Shaboozey says that when you uncover the true history of country music, you find a story so powerful that it cannot be erased. And then he proceeds by saying, then he has the second tweet, or X, where he says, the real history of country music is about people coming together despite their differences and embracing and celebrating the things that make us alike. So I think here was being a bit conciliatory after seeing all the ruckus that erupted. Right? So he tried to calm the waters and just to be a bit diplomatic and so on and so forth. So I think here, the reason why I found this interesting is that when you have history pieces that come up, very often you'll hear the argument. People are saying, just forget about the past. Or that black people are so hell-bent on the past, always going in the past, just looking to the future. What happened, happened. But the problem is, you have, houses of cards that have been built on lies that need to be dismantled. And we need to rebuild on foundations of truth. And unfortunately, it is the case that so many accomplishments of great black men and women have been erased, have been washed, have been omitted from history records, accomplishments that would actually help build better narratives and help correct a lot of the stereotypes that still impact the way societies function today. This is just one latest example. Because what Megan Maroney said, I actually do not blame her. Because it's not her fault, right? She was just reading cards. She's a presenter. She's given card, and she's told that essentially the Carter family invented country music. If you go today on the website to the Country Music Hall of Fame website, guess what you will find? You will find articles about the Carter family, for example. The Carter family this is on the official website, right? The Country Music Hall of Fame website. Well, there it says that they're considered the first family of country music. Let me read what it says. The Carter family essentially invented the kind of harmony singing used for years in the music and popularized numerous songs that became country standards. This is on the official website of the Country Music Hall of Fame. It says that the Carter family essentially invented, all right, the kind of harmony. Invented. That's what the website says. So Megan Maroney is just repeating things. And if the Country Music Hall of Fame website says stuff like that, obviously you have countless people that will grow up with this information and take it at its face value, where in fact this is actually patently false. The Carter family did not invent this sort of harmony and this sort of country music. And I'm so glad there's people like, Ken Burns, the history buff. I love, documentaries by Ken Burns. He usually goes and investigates topics and brings us, hours and hours of documentary. He has a documentary on country music, over 16 hours, four parts, that dives deep into the history of country music. But more importantly, what I want us to look at, there is an article, a Time magazine article. Let me see here. Okay. So this article here is actually titled, I'm just going to read you some paragraph from the article. You can find it online. It's an old Time magazine article. It was written in, when was it written? In 2019. So it's 6 years ago, but it's still true. The title is Black Artists Helped Build Country Music, and Then It Left Them Behind. This is what this article says. So again, the title, Black Artists Helped Build Country Music, and Then It Left Them Behind. I strongly urge you to find this article online. You'll find a lot. You can also obviously watch the documentary by Ken Burns, which, if you're interested by that documentary, it's called Country Music. Okay, it came out in 2019 as well. So actually, before reading some passages of this article, I think it's interesting to note that the documentary by Ken Burns, one of the central tenet, all right, of his documentary series is that country music has always been home to African American artists. So through the documentary, Ken Burns actually shows how different genres, right, like rock, jazz, pop, and every facet of country music, from the instrumentation to the vocal repertoire, the instrument technique, actually is indebted to African and African American traditions. But over time, the commercial decisions by white industry executives, led to the exclusion of all those of the Black history of country music. And so we'll look at it more in depth in this article from the Time magazine. So Ken Burns, through that documentary, shows clearly how the origins of country music is African and African American music traditions. So let's read what does the article say. There's a bunch of interesting passages. All right, so let me take off the picture so it doesn't distract us here. But yeah, I highly recommend that you find the article. Okay, so for example, And by the way, this article, this was at the time when I don't know if you remember Lil Nas. Lil Nas is another black country music artist who he had a whole Old Town Road song back then, which had created controversy. People were saying it's not really country music, it's hip hop, whatever. But he was saying he's home, he feels home in country music. And so it was in response to that and many other things that the Time magazine came with this article. Um, so so here's somewhere in the middle of the article. It says the following: the black influence on country music starts with the banjo, which often conjures a hazy image of white pastoral South. That's what people see when you talk about the banjo. In people's mind, it will say, "Oh, this is a pastoral South," so it's a white instrument. But the instrument is a descendant of West Africans' lutes made from gourds that were brought to America by slaves, which became a central part of slave music and culture in the South. Very soon, the instrument was standardized and appropriated and spread to white audiences through minstrel and blackface shows, which deeply informed the rise of hillbilly music, a term that will later be rebranded as country music. So country music started as hillbilly music, right? It was used to be called hillbilly music, and then it was rebranded country music. Now, hillbilly music was the music that was played during minstrels and blackface shows. And those shows, those blackface shows, were using instruments that were appropriated from music that was played and sung by slaves. You understand the following? So slave music, African tradition music, an African instrument. White people at the time take over the instrument, start appropriate the instrument, start spreading it to white audiences, and then that whole music becomes hillbilly music that later is rebranded country music. The origin is clear. So, and then you have here white banjo innovators like Earl Scruggs and David Ackerman later made the instrument an integral to the genre's DNA, and black musicians mostly abandoned that instrument over time. So the article continues by saying many of the songs that early hillbilly artists played were likewise inherited and adapted from black sources, like slave spirituals, field songs, religious hymnals, and the work of professional black songwriters. Very, very clear. So you see where the inspiration came from. So in country music, so Ken Burns traces When the World is on Fire, which is a song called When the World is on Fire, a song that was arranged by a black minister and then was turned into the Carter family's 1928 hit, Little Darling, Pal of Mine, which was then turned into Woody Guthrie's This Land is Your Land. So the Carter family, which was said to have invented country music, which if you go on the website of the Country Music Hall of Fame website, the Carter family called the first family of country music. They're called the first family because it was actually three of them. If I can refine the names very quickly. So the Carter family, yeah, you have A.P. Carter, who was the boy. He was a trio, one male, two females. So you had A.P. Carter, you had Sarah Dorothy Carter, and you have Maybelle Carter, who was playing guitar so well they say she revolutionized guitar. And in fact, she was taught by a black guitarist. We'll see all that. So this family, called the inventors of country music, here one of their greatest hits in 1928, called Little Darling Pal of Mine, is actually a song that was arranged by a black minister who had called his song When the World is on Fire. So the Carter family takes the song, changes the title of the song, and it becomes their hit. And the black minister who created that song never gets any credit. And this family is now elevated as the inventors of country music. You see the irony here? And this is only one example out of many. There's other songs. There's apparently a song like "Carry Me Back to Old Virginia," which is a song that was written by James A. Bland, who was a black New Yorker. So he would have never been accepted in Virginia in the time when slavery was still ongoing. And later on, even in 1940, he probably would not have been accepted in Virginia when the song that he wrote became the official song of the state of Virginia. The song "Carry Me Back to Old Virginia." Song written by this black New Yorker, but it became the official song of the state of Virginia. So here's an interesting part, which I think will be the greater message, and we'll talk about it later. It says that while the South remained deeply segregated in the 20s and 30s, black and white musicians frequently engaged in music collaborations, even appearing on many records together. So, which is interesting. So the musician on their part, even within that segregation, they're still collaborating because music is food to the soul. It's an art. It's a universal language. So musicians were collaborating, but outside of that, society was segregating and not allowing that collaboration. And so the article continues saying that collaboration was just the tip of the iceberg. So according to Patrick Hubert, a history professor at Missouri University of Science and Technology, in his 2013 essay called Black Hillbillies, African American Musicians on Old-Time Records, 1924 to 1932, he details the starting diversity of hillbilly music, which featured a higher frequency of integrated session than any other genres except the vaudeville blues. He said nearly 50 African American singers and musicians appeared on commercial hillbilly records between those years, because the music was not a white agrarian tradition, but a fluid phenomenon passed back and forth between the races. So to me, this is really a key message here. This is a key message where he's saying that, like, quite frankly, the genre, right? Again, it used to be called hillbilly music. It wasn't called country music yet. So he says that this music featured a higher frequency of integrated sessions than any other genre except vaudeville blues. So this really means that, in a sense, the evolution of country music, you cannot today just say it's a black music or it's a white music. Clearly, there's a lot of the origins that actually came from black, African American, and African music tradition. A lot of that came into the white audiences through, as we say, black face shows and so on. But then it started evolving. Then you had white artists who actually brought in their element, but collaboration continued. So by the time it becomes country music, it's actually a very diverse genre that features white element from white artists, elements from black artists. So it is a very diverse form of music. But unfortunately, when the genre became a commercial product, and this is the sad part here. So let me read. But as hillbilly music became a commercial product in the 20s, record labels began dividing their releases into hillbilly records and race records. So So they started the separation, the record labels. So they started putting hillbilly records on one side and then race records on the other side, under the presumption that the consumers bought music according to their race. So many of the black performers on hillbilly records went uncredited or were even scrubbed from marketing images in favor of white stand-ins. So the genre was quickly positioned as an authentic return to the music of an idyllic rural white mountain south, in direct opposition to black modern dance music of the era. So that's where the problem began. So it's a marketing ploy. That means that black artists now was pushed to the margin of country music, even though they remain influential behind the scenes. For example, back to the Carter family. Remember, supposedly the inventors of country music, right? According to the Country Music Hall of Fame, saying that the Carter family invented the sort of melodies, harmonies, and so on. Well, guess what? Leslie Riddle, who was a black guitar player, he's the one who actually helped A.P. Carter and the Carter family hone the repertoire of mountain songs, and he greatly influenced the finger-picking guitar of Maybelle Carter, who is considered one of the most influential guitar players of all time. But guess what? Leslie Riddle was not mentioned within the Carter family at all. And as a matter of fact, Leslie Riddle is the one who went around, helped the Carter family collect those songs from black areas and brought the songs to the Carter family and helped them learn the songs and helped them improve in the guitar. It's a black guitar player and a black vocalist, but not mentioned, not credited at all. But yet the Carter family again is called the best, the inventors of country music. So, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is really the larger point here, as we're heading towards the end of our show, is that in a sense, I mean, Shaboozey is right when he looks at his co-presenter the way he did, right? Because when here, when Megan Maroney says that the Carter basically invented country music, that is clearly false. So Shaboozey is right in looking at her the way he did, giving her that side eye, and then laughing afterwards. Like, you know, that laugh that just reveals it all, saying, man, what are you talking about? But then he was also right, I think, to come the next day, as he did, to calm the waters and talk about the collaboration. Because it is true. Let me show you again what he said in his second tweet, which I agree. He says, the real history of country music is about people coming together despite their differences and embracing and celebrating the things that make us alike. That is the real history of country music, I would say musicians. It is unfortunately the real history of music executives. Nashville, you know, that created white walls around this genre that over time somehow was appropriated and turned as a white invention when in fact it wasn't. So yeah, the music itself, the art, is a real history of people coming together despite their differences and embracing and celebrating the things that make them alike. I agree 100%. We've seen how diverse this genre actually has always been, despite what the marketing is trying to shove down our throat. So in that sense, Shaboozey is absolutely right. And he is right at home by feeling all confident and representing country music as a black person. And a black person of Nigerian descent. Here's also the other irony. This just shows how we're all interconnected. You know, country music started before it was even hillbilly music, using traditions of African music and African American, slave music and so on. And Shaboozey is that guy who connects the dots. He's African American. He was born in Virginia. He's 30 years old. His parents are from Nigeria, from Africa. He's in this music. That's a diverse music. So it's a fantastic melting pot here. He's just connecting the dots here. But he is well at home in country music. So for all of you out there that are saying country music is not black music, first, you're absolutely wrong, as we've seen. Now I actually understand. When I was young, now I understand why. My parents actually used to like, let me reveal something. My parents used to love playing country music when I was maybe 5, 6 years old. And I remember I actually always liked country music. And even when I came to the United States as a young man, and I always found it interesting. I would listen to all genres of music anyway. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's hip hop, R&B, rock, country music. Music is music. But yeah, so for those of you who say country music is not black music, no, Shaboozey is right at home in country music. And people like Beyoncé also, with a Cowboy Carter album, she's absolutely right. They're right to reclaim the country music space for black artists. And there's many more out there. And I'm happy to see there's a growing presence of black artists in country music, reclaiming that space, a space that, as we've seen throughout history, was created by a great diversity of artists, black and white, right? But a strong African and African-American origin. That's what that music is. So Shaboozey is absolutely correct. And for those of you who out there who say, well, as we've seen, that the race war is crazy on the internet, folks. I mean, I was just looking at the comments and it's unbelievable, the attacks. It seems like nowadays, it doesn't take much to have a real culture war and a race war. And this side-eye created that. But some of the comments, like, so you have white people also saying, well, yeah, black people did not create country music. They definitely are creators of that, so it's both black and white. Or we have black people saying white people did not create country music. I'm afraid to say, well, they both contributed to creating country music. So remember, it started as hillbilly music, then became country music. So it's really, I think you cannot say that it's only black people that created country music or white people that created country music. And quite frankly, it should not matter. It shouldn't even matter going forward who created that. But what should matter is that history records need to be corrected. And so this fight of correcting the wrongs of the past is absolutely essential, which is why one of the pillars of this platform, as you know, one of our 3 pillars is Pan-African history, right? The entire global Pan-African diaspora history. And across the African continent, there's too many policies, things that are passed as true. I mean, you look at the website, the official website of the country music Hall of Fame, the official website is saying that this Carter family are the inventors of country music. That is crazy. So there's a lot of correction that needs to be done for history's sake. It is important to have accurate history. You might not immediately change our current state, right? But it also goes in line with the Sankofa concept. Remember, I've talked about Sankofa in the past. Sankofa, Sankofa. This concept of the Akan people in Ghana that says as you walk forward, your head also has to be turned backwards just to kind of know where you came from. And so to avoid the same mistake going forward, well, it's important to have the right information of the past so that we can make accurate judgments and create a better future. And too often, the accomplishment of black people has been left out of history books. And so it is important to correct that. So if you hear people telling you, well, black people, you cry too much about history, it's in the past, reject that assertion. Because a lot of the white confidence is based out of history from the past. I mean, how many times have you seen history about movies about King Arthur, Charlemagne, about Abraham Lincoln? There's so much lore about past history, right? White history. Well, black history deserves the same appreciation. So it is important to correct his historical record. So Shaboozey, big ups for that side eye, that stinging side eye. He created this conversation. I personally even learned stuff that I didn't even know about country music. But I was like, yeah, now I know why it feels. I feel it in my soul sometimes. It has a lot of, African American tradition in it. So yeah. So on that note, I mean, I will close the show here. I've shown you the comment of Shaboozey. It is important. It is important. And let me finish with a quote by Bob Marley that goes in line with this, right? The Buffalo Soldier himself. I love me some Bob Marley. I mean, this is actually one of my favorite songs from Buffalo Soldier. But he's right. He says, if you know your history, then you would know where you're coming from. Then you wouldn't have to ask me who the hell I think I am. That is absolutely correct. Knowing our history is absolutely critical. It is absolutely critical. We need to continue knowing our history. We need to know where we come from with confidence, and we need to reclaim our history with confidence. So I wholeheartedly support Shaboozey, Beyoncé, and all the Black artists that are making a way in the country music space. They absolutely are home in that genre. As we've seen, it's a genre that originated with strong Black influence. On that note, I will end up here for today. Thank you very much for tuning in and supporting this platform as we go forward. If you're already subscribed, thank you very much. If not, let me ask you to do two things that can help this platform tremendously. One, click on subscribe. It only takes 1 second, folks. Just 1 second. Click subscribe. Boom. You're part of the community. So you're part of this growing community. And secondly, click on share. If you think that somebody in your network might benefit from this message, all you have to do is click on share, send it out, and then it helps spread our message. It helps grow our community. It also helps you, by the way, when you subscribe, to be notified every time we get a video. So you, without effort, it's just there on your phone or whatever, and then you get the video. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. As I like to say, remember, we are a beautiful people. We are a very strong people, and we are a special people. Don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Until next time, I am Tony Mfumu Simba Kwambamba Ngumbu. Thank you for tuning in. Peace be with you, and Asante Sana, which means thank you very much in Swahili. So until next time, we are the Global Pack. Let's get to work, and thank you very much.